Welcome to RCS. I'm Dan.
I'm Nick.
We're here at Drivers Club.
As always, it's a lonely time still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan and I are still sitting 6 feet apart. We face the opposite direction. You know, it's the way we're doing it.
It's been like every weather today.
Monsoon.
Yeah.
Flood warnings. Sunshine. Beautiful sunset. I think I'd still rather be in Hawaii right now, but it was a nice day today, as long as your car didn't wash away.
I have friends over there and friends going over there. Our designer, Jeremy Salvo Designs, who did our RCS rebranding course.
Going back to Hawaii.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's Hawaiian. So
yes, I understand that, but yeah, she's going home, but whatever.
Right. Yeah. So I'm still jealous, though.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to go play in water that isn't frigid.
Apparently, the hoops you have to jump through to go to Hawaii right now
I've heard that.
Pretty, like you're checking in daily and all kinds of fun stuff. So,
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure it's worth it once you get there. So, yeah.
Anyway. What's been new, man?
Not much. I'm officially on the search for a monkey.
Yeah.
Everything kind of fell into order. So, which is funny because if you listen to the show long enough, Dan has talked about his history of working in the automotive industry and working in the motorcycle industry, and the fact that motorcycle shops across the nation are closed Sunday and Monday. And as car guys and things like that, when you get something in your mind, you're like, I want this to happen now. And Saturday night, I decided, okay, it's now time to take the jump and let's
get
go
this
find
monkey.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, oh, great. Sunday morning, I'll get up, I'll go a couple places, see what I can do, get it all locked down, have it in the garage by Sunday. That didn't happen. So hopefully by the time this comes out, I'll have it all figured out. But I reached out to a bunch of dealerships, and I think I'm gonna. I don't know what I'll end up with. It'll be interesting. I think I'm gonna get what they have. So
yeah.
I might end up with ABS, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
It is. If you're not used to riding with it, it's kind of a little weird at first.
That's it. I'm not used to riding.
It's nice. It actually works really well on motorcycles, and it does take up a little extra room under the seat. Not that you'll use under the seat storage that much, but
as a big guy on a really small bike, do I really need a better braking system? I was watching a video. One guy was like, he's like, yeah, I'm well over 300 pounds. And I'm like, dude, get a big bike.
Yeah.
Not that I'm that far off of that, but still, geez.
That's a lot for a 125cc any bike.
And he was upgrading to the external reservoir rear shocks, and watching him bounce up and down on it, I was like, I don't know if that's enough for you.
I'm laughing because I will definitely have as much in mods as I do in the cost of the bike, for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, but I diverted my energy from going to, okay, I'll get the bike, but now I need to figure out all the mods, and it's starting to. It's adding up.
Skid plate rack, front and rear suspension, intake, ECUs, chain and sprockets,
exhaust,
and then if you're our guest David, it's headlight, custom fabrication, and dual overhead cam kit. And
I want a new tack. The new if you can get them. I don't think they come out, but there's all. This is a kidney candy store. Like, I mean, the amount of money I've spent on accessories for the things I have, everything from accessories for firearms to cars and things like that. So.
180cc big bore kit. Why not?
That's tempting.
I know it is because it's really usable power on one of those.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, do you think we could do that?
I don't see why not. It's not like it's any special tools.
If it breaks, who cares, right?
Yeah. We'll just put on the old kit.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be fine. I don't know. I mean,
the hard part of those is getting tuning down because it's really hard to tune such a small motorcycle for one. Mm-hmm. And you have to reflash it. So getting somebody who can really do that. There are a few good tuners around here, don't get me wrong, but it's like anything else.
Excuse me, I'm a large man with a small bike. I'd like this tuned. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I do need to hit up Haggerty for insurance on that. I have insurance through my regular insurance. But I'm like, it's such a limited use vehicle for me. I wonder if I can get it cheaper through Haggerty. I'm going to hit up our rep.
That's a good point. That's
a good thing to reach out to.
Yeah. You have insurance on it now, obviously.
Oh, yeah, through Geico.
But it can't be ungodly expensive.
No, it's $20 for both of them.
A month?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
for both bikes.
Oh, $200 or $10 a month. Okay.
I got a group discount now.
Yeah. Okay. I have Geico too, so I'm wondering if I can add on to my policy and then knock my
it gave me multiple use
Yeah.
multi-vehicle discount. It actually reduced the policy on the Raptor for having the two monkeys enough that it's not even costing me anything really.
They're like, you'll drive your Raptor less and not run things over, so it'll be fine.
Yeah. I was looking at the R8. It's still only going to cost me like $90 a month for that too. The advantage of getting older, boys.
Just put it under her name. She's got to be a better driver than both of us. So
maybe.
I'm hoping. Yeah. So, what's new with you?
Oh, not much. Went and played in the snow a little bit. I guess that was the weekend before. What have I done? The day is, there are no weekends anymore. There's just
You had a busy week.
work and less work.
Yeah, you had a big work week. I know that. So that was a lot going on in the world. But
I did some killer hiking. My legs still hurt. It's been good for me, but that's about it. I had found a window in the weather and went up and did Tiger Mountain for a lot of miles, which was not for some, but for me. And so
was it like 4 in, 4 out kind of thing?
Yeah. It was just roundabout way.
It's almost 8 miles.
Yeah, almost. I didn't have my tracker on, so I don't know exactly how many miles it was. I had to go by the map. So.
Stop taking hiking advice from that person.
I know.
I'm not even going to give her recognition because she tried to kill you again. So, yeah.
It's
she knows
good
who she
for
is.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I cleaned up the Raptor after our Avance off-road day, which I don't actually like. Right now, I'm not really like cleaning it. I just went to the car wash and sprayed it off, and then thank God I have enough ceramic on there from Griot's.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make it too hard, but it does need a wash now.
I'm pretty sure that when the last time I washed it with the Griot stuff, it was way too cold, and so
yeah.
it did its job enough for the road trip down. But now my car's filthy again, so I gotta take some time, like we talked about, and do it at the right temperature and get it done right.
Yep.
So.
Our friends at Park Place offered 50% off for participants of that event. So I'm probably just going to take the Raptor there and have them do it because it's not that bad. So I'm just like, yeah.
Let them take it. You didn't even drive it that much, but just coming in out of that parking lot was
that's the funny part. It's just in and out of the parking lot. It was dirty enough that it needed a full wash.
There were some live entertainment people there this weekend. I was really surprised. That side-by-side, that guy he had the tunes rocking. And the guy that we gave the prize to that had a fully modified, and this is a weird thing to say, Audi A3 diesel that had fully customized long travel suspension.
Yeah. That was impressive.
Did you know you can put the suspension from a Q5 under a Q3 and it will lift it up?
Or A3, yeah.
A3, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, almost bolt in.
No, it's a direct bolt in. He then went above and beyond that and created his own suspension, but still. So
the fender flares on the passenger side didn't fare as well.
No. And I think he now holds the record for the youngest person to go around that track with his daughter when she was like maybe a year old.
Yeah, maybe.
So
yeah, she had fun though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I got a cute picture of them.
Stop taking pictures of other people's babies, Dan.
They were in it.
Sure.
And then I give credit to let's see, it wasn't a Raptor, it's an F-150.
Yeah, I mean,
which still managed to get all 4 wheels off the ground.
They were having fun. I did not know that again. That's a stock Ford color. I did not know that's a really
beautiful color.
It looks like it's a wrap. It's just this most unique bright blue. So yeah, I like that truck.
I will say nobody in Avance Off-Road that goes to one of those events in a Raptor does not full send that Raptor. They jump almost every time they go, and it's hilarious to watch.
Eventually.
Yeah, not the first few rounds.
I was out on the course when the Raptors came in on that second part, and the first couple times they were slow, and then it'd get a little faster, and then pretty soon it was just like the Dukes of Hazzard in there. So
yeah, like the 4th or 5th lap, everybody's like, let's see how fast we can go. 80 on the back stretch, why not?
Didn't break something there, I'll just up it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't think minus a few fender flares and things like that, nobody really broke too much. So
no,
yeah,
no. It's I mean, the track is not that brutal. So it's designed to be like you could just drive it in anything, but also if you really want to have a good time, they did a really good job on the designing it actually because it fits both worlds really well.
That was really cool to see that. It's a little bit older G-Wagon out there.
Yeah,
which is fun.
Lots of G-Wagons, lots of Range Rovers, people really using vehicles that you expect to only see in a parking lot and really using them, which is cool.
And then they had they just got back from King of Hammers. They had a King of Hammer
Jeep. Yeah, they didn't run it on the track.
No, not the Jeep. The one that was sitting across the street from our booth. That was
a King of the Hammers Jeep.
No. The booth next to us had the Jeep.
Yes.
The thing that sat across from us that was not a Jeep.
It was a custom built Jeep. Yeah.
That was not a Jeep.
Yeah, it's a tube frame.
Why would you say that? This is the farthest thing from a Jeep.
It has a V8, I think.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm
trying to find the photos. I think it's like loosely based off a Jeep. I mean, at that point, nothing's really anything.
Do you vote for Jeep on that? Oh,
it's Jeep-esque.
You will say anything to me. it was pretty cool. So
yeah, it's a custom truck. I mean, it loosely resembles a Jeep. Let's put it that way. It's not a Jeep at that point. I mean, it's a V8. They
had a pretty awesome rock crawling Jeep there too.
Yes, they did, and that thing probably went through in 2-wheel drive high with no effort.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That was a good day. It was a good day. Thanks to Brandon Powell and Adam from Avance and everybody, all the volunteers that were out there, slinging in the mud.
Yes,
So,
and the bark.
On the bark, yes.
Yeah. We should jump into our Carter Subaru tip of the week.
Okay.
So we've had this mix of snow off and on. I had a weird hail experience, which was enough hail to cover the road. It looked like snow.
I had a bad experience. Okay.
But there's a lot of de-icer all over the roads right now, and especially all over Texas right now, where they're pouring anything on the roads they can to get traction, because they're in that crazy cold snap. Such weird weather forever now, all over the world.
No, Dan, we have global warming. I mean, one of the warmest states in the country, Texas, has snow that's up to their swimming pools are frozen, they're ice skating, but it's global warming.
That's a whole other topic. No. But anyway, so our tip of the week, though, is if you are in one of those environments, and we have a lot of listeners that are, especially down in Texas, actually, we have a pretty good audience there, and on the East Coast, you're dealing with de-icer, you have got to get a car wash subscription. And I don't mean one of those drive-through sandpaper blast your car washes. I mean the touchless car wash. You need to track one down in your town, and you need to find a subscription. That salt, if you've ever lived in the Midwest or been through it for more than 20 minutes, have seen every truck out there rusted through to the core, no matter what it is. Every piece of metal out there is going to rust. That de-icer, not just the salt, the de-icer as well, will eat through that metal like you wouldn't believe. And the only way around that is you got to wash under the vehicle. And you want to go find a touchless car wash with an underbody wash. Most of them do over there. And you need to hit it every 2 or 3 days. Just drive through it and keep going. You don't have to get out and clean the car and make it perfect, but you got to wash that stuff off. It can't sit on your car.
If you live at home, there are like hose attachments and power wash attachments. You can get their little wheels with jets that you can underbody wash, which are really cool little tools to have, even if you're not washing off de-icer. But
yeah, if you do any kind of off-roading.
Like if you go to an Avance event.
Like if you go to any Avance event off-road, you will want one of those. It's just a power wash attachment. It's got a long wand on it. It makes it really easy to clean the underside of your truck, and you can flip it over and clean the pavement when you're done. The circular ones work better for that. But that is definitely the tip of the week, is make sure this time of year when there's de-icer everywhere, you are hitting a touchless car wash or you have one of those attachments. Touchless car wash, the chemicals in those things can strip some of the stuff in your paint, especially wax, things like that. So again, they're not the best option if you can do it at home all the time, but most people don't have the option or the time to go through and clean off their car every 2 or 3 days. I highly, highly recommend you get a subscription to that and save yourself some money. Because I think my parents in Maryland are spending $35 a month, I want to say, on their unlimited drive-through subscription.
Well, you had a subscription with the Land Cruiser with Brown Bear, right?
Yep.
And that was like $30 or $40.
It was like $30 a month, and I went through that thing like every 3 days. Yeah. So I got more than my money's worth out of it. Because I was like, off-road, no problem, drive-through.
Sure.
And then just over and over and over again. So again, these are a little hard on your paint. We can go into that a whole nother time. That the chemicals they use in those cheap car washes are probably more than they need, and they're just not great. Let's put it that way.
Understood.
But they're a whole lot better than de-icer and salt. So no matter what you're running, do something to wash that stuff off. That'll make your life a whole lot easier. And it's a really cheap thing to do, to just drive through and, hey, clean car all the time. Clean-ish car all the time. Let's put it that way.
There you go. Well, as we started off and I was talking about the monkeys and we were talking about accessories, Dan and I were talking today about the fact that we were guestless, and we thought, let's kind of talk about some of the things that we've done to our cars throughout the past and things like that. What's worked, what hasn't.
Yeah, we're going to call this segment Worth It, Not Worth It.
Okay.
Because we have done a lot of not worth it in an attempt to make things better and been like, well, that was stupid.
So many bins of parts that's like, I wanted that, but it looked cool. So
yeah. Which is easy to do now with Amazon and everything. You're like, I'll get those. Those will work.
Try it for a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank God for Amazon's return policy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the most obvious one, the very top of our list. The most important thing, or the best money I have ever spent on any vehicle across the board, street, off-road, motorcycle, bicycle, everything.
Stickers.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It is tires. You get what you pay for in tires. I have tried all of the cheap brands. I have tried, because I was broke for a long time, I have tried used. I have tried everything. And there is a good reason expensive tires are expensive, period. And there's a good reason why some places are selling good tires at cheap prices. We've talked about this before extensively with Right Away Tire and Blake. And typically if you find like a Michelin Pilot Sport, what do they call it?
Super Sport?
Yeah, the 4s, the brand new ones, the Sport 4Ss, I think they're on now.
Okay.
If you find those dirt cheap, it's probably because they're really old, and they've been sitting on a shelf for 3 years, and they're hard as a rock, and they're halfway through their shelf life.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go back, find Blake's last episode, and he will talk about the coating on the side of the tire. A tire can be brand new, and it sits on the shelf for so long, it's worthless.
Yeah, we had a previous guest who had a car which had almost brand new Pirelli P0s on it with like 500 miles on them.
Almost. Yeah.
Almost. That were cracked to the core and falling apart because the car never saw the time on the road, and they were like 12 years old. So they were hard as a rock. So,
but they're brand new, Dan.
They're brand new, though. Only 500 miles on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, too, is that time does destroy rubber, whether that be suspension bushings or anything else, but especially tires. So worth it, tires. That's where it's worth spending the money. I think that's the most important part on your car above all else because it's the part holding you on the road.
Okay.
So opposite of that.
I was going to say, let's go for a not worth it right off the bat.
Not worth it right off the bat. Stainless brake lines.
Okay.
I've talked about that a lot on this show. Very, very little use case for stainless brake lines are actually worth it. Custom suspension applications, if you do a lot of gravel or off-road. But that old brake line swelling that we used to talk about or they used to market a lot doesn't actually happen anymore in new brake lines, period. It just doesn't. You're far better off spending that money on fresh brake fluid every year.
What came on the Vet? Did it come with steel lines or what was on it?
Came with half steel.
Half steel, that's it, okay.
Yeah. And so on my old Vet, I did them. Noticed no difference whatsoever. I have honestly never noticed that on any motorcycle I've ever had, and I've done it because they look cool on motorcycles. That's the only reason I've ever done it. That's it. But if you think you're getting some magic brake performance upgrade by changing your brake lines, spoiler alert, you're not at all.
And I want to say this: there are a lot of things on this list that we'll say worth it is aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really a big thing here. Worth it aesthetically, not worth it at all performance-wise. So the performance claims they claim from stainless brake lines on a modern vehicle, it's real clear on that. On an old vehicle, there's a very different story there because you have very different compounds. You don't have Kevlar in your lines, things like that, where they don't expand under heat. Totally worth it. But there's a reason the factory, McLaren 765 doesn't come with full stainless lines. One, it doesn't need it. Two, DOT. You can still make a DOT stainless line for the record. There's plenty of DOT stainless lines, but it's completely unnecessary. And it usually adds a little bit of weight. Not much, but a tiny bit. Like I said, if you're in a heavy gravel situation, you do a lot of gravel roads. Alaska, you want to think up there, Northwest Territory, northern Canada, where you're getting a lot of that road rash on the inside of your wheel wells and on your brake lines. That actually does have a purpose. But stainless lines, even when they're coated, typically wear out faster. The coatings wear off them. They will not wear through because they have some armor. But that wearing of that silicone protective coating can rub against your suspension components and cause chafing on the suspension itself. And it's not really going to cause any failures, but just so you know, you're not really getting an advantage there.
Okay. Well, let's work our way out here. Let's talk about wheels. And I think this is a big topic.
Yep, that is a big topic. Let's take topic, not taco. I want tacos now. But let's take our first break, and I'll be right back.
We spend an average of 8 hours and 41 minutes a day facing screens. Laptops, smartphones, tablets, even digital refrigerators. But what are we really connected to? Isn't it time you connected to something greater? Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect. This moment of escape was created by Haggerty for people who love cars.
And we're back. Okay, well, as I was talking about before the break, is wheels. And it's
a hot topic.
This is a very hot topic because, when you were young and you had your Honda Civic or your, 92 Subaru Legacy, hypothetically.
Yep.
You wanted cool wheels. I mean, I think we all started with hubcaps. We all went down to Shucks and we got the hubcaps. Hubcaps, you could paint your wheels black and do whatever you wanted. But
yeah.
Are expensive wheels worth it? I mean, we look at this stuff and these 3-piece wheels, diamond cut, and they're gorgeous and they look wonderful on the car. But I mean,
yes and no.
Do they? A lot of the nicest wheels I've seen on cars are cars that aren't really going anywhere. Like they're sitting in a garage and things like that.
Yeah, you mean your 24s on your diesel truck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the common thing like on the new Mustangs and stuff and the new GTs is these carbon fiber wheels.
Yep.
I mean, they're gorgeous, but there's a purpose to them. There's a reason why you're paying $24,000 for wheels on a car that needs it.
Yeah, so there are use cases for wheels, and that's the most important part here. Are expensive wheels worth it? Yes, depending on the use case. For the most part, no. You going down to your neighborhood tire store and picking up a set of 20-inch wheels because they look cool typically has a negative effect on many areas of your car. especially performance, though. You're increasing your braking because you're adding rotational mass, but it's most noticeable in braking. You might get some better handling, but usually only if you go with a larger wheel that's lighter. So you want to go from a cast to a forged wheel, or a flow forged, as they call it, which is still a lightweight casting wheel.
There's nothing better than rolling down the road and seeing a Suburban on 24s and you can barely see
Tiny
the caliper.
brakes.
Yeah. Upgrade your brakes, lady, before I can get the heck out of your way.
We covered that really early on in our show, actually, is that we've seen that failure amongst people a lot, where they will upgrade the wheels but not upgrade the brakes. And especially when you go big on SUVs, that's like exactly as you said. You go because you can go from like a 17 on a Suburban to a 24 and it'll still fit, but you're adding like not a little bit, like 60 pounds of rotational mass. It's not a little bit. It's a massive amount of weight at each corner.
Plus the weights they have to put on it to
Plus
keep
the
it
weights
balanced.
they have to balance it on.
Yeah.
And usually reducing traction and ride quality because you've reduced all the comfort of having any kind of sidewall. There's a happy medium there. But there's a reason that forged wheels cost a lot. They're super strong and super light. And so if you can increase the diameter of your wheel, decrease the weight, you're going to get better handling, braking across the board. So the benefit is highly there. On off-road stuff, typically expensive off-road wheels are either bead-locked or they're forged. Factory forged wheels on the Raptor, by the way, if you got the bead-locks, which is really cool, which is why I got them. But they're also really light and they're really strong. But they may not be the best on-road. Like bead-locks we've talked about on the show are actually non-DOT compliant. That said, a good set of bead-locks. I know a lot of guys that are running them year-round and they're not leaking at all. The technology has caught up.
And the fake ones look so real, it's hard to tell who's actually running them. Yeah,
exactly. And so if you're getting strength for it and you're getting a wheel specifically for a low-speed environment, some weight might be a worthwhile trade-off for you, especially if you're going with already like to a 37-inch wheel or tire on a Jeep and you go to an 18-inch wheel. Like that might be worth it because you have a dedicated use case. But you got to consider how much added strain you're adding on the drivetrain when you go to a different wheel. And if you go to a cheap wheel, it's 100% not worth it. You can downgrade your wheels, even sticking with the same size on a lot of cars. Like if you bring your Camry, your older one, and it's got factory 16-inch wheels, and you go to your local tire shop and you want a shiny chrome wheel, it might weigh 5 pounds more per corner. It's not going to be an upgrade.
Plus that chrome's going to come off there real fast.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of those even factory wheels on family sedans are cast aluminum for a reason. They're lightweight, lighter weight than a lot of the aftermarket wheels. So if you're going to go aftermarket wheels, which is one of the best aesthetic upgrades you can make sure that you're not sacrificing your performance, your braking. I mean, there's so many downsides to choosing a cheap wheel.
Also, if you're going to go into one of your local tire stores or whatever, and they're going to sell you what you want. I mean, they're not going to let you go out of there with something dangerous, but also they're not going to be like, hey, you should upgrade your brakes by the way you put these 26s on your Escalade. But yeah.
Talk to HKP, talk to Right Away Tire, talk to the experts who aren't trying to sell you just what you want, but who can actually tell you the differences in what you're getting. There are people out there who care. I'm not saying the other ones don't. I'm just saying, when you have a large chain of tire stores, the attention to detail probably isn't the same as a small boutique shop.
Sure.
For the most part.
The next one on the list is something actually Dan and I are looking for at this moment.
Yes. So I've the downside right now, I have a cheap pressure washer. I got this cheap electric pressure washer. It does the job. Does a job.
It's better than not having a pressure washer.
It's better than not having a pressure washer. And I got it. It's held up. I got it like 7 or 8 years ago for like $70.
For as much as we bitch about it, we have used it a lot, and even you have too. And it's held up.
It's held up.
It's been a good thing. Yeah.
But the difference between like this bottom of the barrel, like got it on some Slick Deals closeout refurb special. I don't even know what the brand is, but it was like a $70 electric pressure washer that throws the breaker every time I turn it on, so I have to click the switch every time. But it does a decent job, and it was $70, but it doesn't have replaceable tips. I can't. There's no function with it. The amount of difference there is between even an entry-level, good quality gas pressure washer and a cheap pressure washer is massive. Like, I'm not going to clean concrete with this thing. It's going to blow off dust. That's about it.
But that's also something else to look at from an automotive standpoint. If you're going to buy a pressure washer, a lot of them do come with multiple tips.
Yeah.
You have to be really, really, really careful about what you point that at, depending on what the tip is on there, because there are tips there that will take cement off your driveway. They will gladly take the paint off the car.
I've seen that happen. So yeah, I was working at the body shop at the time, and I was
Drill a hole, Dan. Got it.
Yeah. So we had this diesel pressure washer, heated, awesome pressure washer. Because we used it all the time.
I didn't even know there was such a thing as a diesel pressure washer.
Yeah, it's a commercial cleaning pressure washer. Sure. I mean, this is the thing they used to like strip buildings and old bridges. This is like that thing, right? I don't know where they got this thing. It was so overkill for what we were doing. It was hilarious.
We pulled the engine out of a cat tractor.
But you could set the temperature on it, and it worked really well. Well, we had this new guy who had never done that before. And he cranked up to what he thought was the pressure, which would have been bad either way because you would have cut a fender in half with a high pressure. So he's got this thing. So he turns up the temperature. Well, he takes it. I mean, it's been warming up. Like it's a gas, so you have to let it warm up to temperature. So he lets this thing run for like 5 minutes, which in one of those is a lot. He fires up with the tip like turned into a straight stream. And he literally cut right through a tire. I mean, right through. Just boom, tire explodes, like cuts through the paint, brand new paint job on a car, dents the fender because the pressure is so high.
Okay.
He is just freaking out. I'm like, what are you doing?
Let alone some of the hottest water in the world splashing back.
Oh, yeah, boiling. It's when they're basically boiling. Mm-hmm. And so it literally cut right through the paint, right through the tire, blew the tire. I could not believe it could get that hot. So little overkill.
Yeah.
I highly recommend a Honda-powered pressure washer. I've been holding out. Costco occasionally has this one. It's branded by Subaru, but it's not Subaru, of course. It just has a Subaru name on it. Electric start.
Makes it better.
Yeah. It's got electric start on it.
Okay.
It's awesome pressure washer. And it's usually like $350. That seems to be the sweet spot for a consumer grade, not pro grade. I mean, if you want to see the good stuff, go see our friend Matt at Obsessed Garage.
Just about to say that.
Yeah, that's who you want to go if you want to be schooled on pressure washers. Just go to Obsessed Garage. That's your Bible. But if you're looking for one off the shelf for your basics,
make sure you have a couple of hours because he's going to explain it to you better than we can. But
if you're looking for a pro one, go see him. If you're looking for I just want to clean my driveway and spray my dirty car off occasionally, Costco's got a great one and a great return policy.
Now, this is something you put on the list for Not Worth It that I didn't even know existed. A battery-operated pressure washer?
Yeah. And so there's, I forget, Works. WORX, I think it is. Mm-hmm. You've probably seen them at Orange brand. They're orange batteries and stuff. They do a lot of tool stuff. And I got one of these try out, basically. It was a gift to try out, which was good. It was Amazon, thank God. And it had about as much pressure as my hose with 2 batteries on it. And the idea was great. You literally just plugged in the hose to the bottom of it, and it had like a little soap dispenser on it. But this thing, it was garbage. Okay. Absolute garbage. And so, I mean, it'll get there.
The concept is neat. But
the concept was fantastic because typically when I'm doing a car wash, I don't need a super high power pressure washer. I just need something basic and that's easy to move around. Didn't work at all. Okay. I mean, it did not clean wheels, did not really do anything. So maybe next time, guys.
One thing I did want to add and I know I brought up the battery thing, the high quality pressure washer. A lot of these ones now have nozzles at the end that you can angle 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Which is really nice when you're trying to get inner fender wells and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Not Worth It, battery-operated pressure washer wands. They're coming up on the market. Maybe in 5 or 6 years we'll see some good ones that'll do the job, much like we do with tools now. Like
Tesla will come out with one.
Yeah, Tesla make us a pressure washer.
Just got to wash in the sun. Yeah.
Speaking of monsoon season and water, our next one should be obvious, and we've talked about this at length in the show before, so on our winter episode, actually. And that's good wiper blades. So there is a sweet spot for those as well. And there's been a lot of research on this, thank God. So the Bosch Icons, there's a couple of different Bosch ones, but the Icon blades are pretty much the sweet spot across the board for having the most consistent good reviews over time. There are some slightly better ones, like the Rain-X brand, are pretty good.
I was going to say Rain-X is good. You're better to get the Rain-X stuff that goes into your washer fluid than the Rain-X blades, I think. But they're still good blades, yeah.
Yeah, and so good wiper blades do matter. Here we have, I'm going to say this again, we talked about this before, but we have a really crappy mix of road conditions, and that is we have constant wet with constant dirt.
Yeah.
So everything runs onto the roads from the hills here, and so we get this weird sandblasting effect. And if you don't replace your wiper blades often enough, what you will do is etch the shape of those wiper blades right into your windshield, and it won't take much. I actually end up replacing mine twice a year because it's so cheap to do. It's just cheap insurance for keeping things clean.
Well, and I was going to say this, and it's something that I didn't realize, but like when I got my Subaru and I bought the warranty and built it into the price. Most warranties these days include wiper blades.
Audi Care does. Yeah.
And if you're in the dealership, ask them because like Carter asked me, they're like, "Do you want new blades?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't even know." He's like, "Well, yeah, it's part of your package." I'm like,
"Yep."
Okay. So every time I go in there, I'm like, I would like some blades, please. So
yeah,
for service, yeah.
Porsche's extended warranty covers that. The Porsche Care, Audi Care. I know, Subaru does. Yeah. There's quite a few plans that actually do cover wiper blades. And importantly, the factory blades for a lot of cars are not off-the-shelf shape. They're made for that car, which is especially in mass-produced vehicles. So like the S4 I had actually Audi brand blades. They were made by Bosch, but they are not off-the-shelf blades. And I compared them side by side just kind of to check, and they're not. They are specific to that. And they weren't even any more money. They were the exact same price if I bought them off the shelf.
And a lot of times, and this is another thing that can add to the wear of them, I've noticed, is a lot of cars have heated wiper blades. And the blade's not actually heated, but there's an element in there. But that element can, while it sits there and heats it, can deteriorate the rubber eventually. So just watch it.
Yeah, UV, if you live in a really hot environment, UV is actually what kills wiper blades more than anything else. So if you've been sitting in the sun, you can usually see them, like back wipers, you see this a lot. Yeah. They start falling apart off the back of the car. That's usually because back windows are tinted, so they hold more heat.
Oh, okay.
So that will destroy wiper blades. But a few recent tests I came across, Project Farm, one of my favorite YouTube channels, did a really, really extensive 1-year test on wiper blades, which was actually really cool to see. One of the worst ones in the test was the Pia silicone wiper blades. Remember Pia lights? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, those are garbage too. We'll get to that. But the silicone wiper blades actually fared some of the worst in the test.
Okay.
The silicone is great for like the month you have them, and then it dries and cracks. They're just too soft. It doesn't hold up to the sand that you get on the road. So if you have a perfect place where you have no sand and it's just water all the time, maybe if you live in a rainforest, commute in a rainforest on paved roads, maybe.
So if you have anything anything silicone, keep it out of the sun.
Pretty much.
Or it'll crack. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, the paying more didn't get you more though, and paying less didn't either. So the sweet spot tends to be about that $20 price range. Also, some of the worst in the test were the Goodyear brand at Costco. Those are garbage, and same with the Michelin ones as well, actually.
Half the time, those ones at Costco, like I've looked at the books, and they only make so many, so they're generic. Like
yeah, they're very generic. Yeah. They have like 1,000 attachments. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You open the box and you get like a
use
spare
clip
parts bin.
Half of clip 7, and yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for all the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
How about I think the next worth it is high quality floor mats, and I cannot say anything better about them. Like you went out and you bought WeatherTech, right?
No, actually I didn't. I actually got Husky. I usually get WeatherTech.
Yeah.
And just based on some reviews on the F-150 forum, it was the way they covered underneath the gas pedal, which is a really important part. That's usually what I'm paying for. It's the only thing I really care about is because factory floor mats typically don't come all the way up into the gas pedal. When your foot is just hovering there, constantly just kind of shoving dirt behind it the whole time, and so it gets really dirty. But like at our Avance event, I probably put a half pound of mud into the truck getting in and out of it that day.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the first things I do, but not just on my trucks. I did it on the Porsche. I did it on the Corvette, everything, just because it's so much easier to clean them. And I swap them out depending on the season. And
I mean, having, crummy season mats, like you can have even for your luxury cars. And the Maserati's got them. Yeah. Porsche's got them. It's really easy to do. Husky's great. Obviously, WeatherTech does a good job of scanning. I mean, they really, they put it in all their commercials, but they really scan the interior of the car and make sure that it form fits. So that's because you don't want something moving around under your foot. So. Yeah, exactly. But a good set of floor mats will save you a lot in cleaning as well. Yeah. And cleaning bills and a lot of wear, actually. Mine actually covers my dead pedal, which is nice because then I'm not wearing down that section. Mm-hmm. You put your left foot over the dead pedal, you're just packing dirt into the bottom of it off your heel. You're practically standing on it when you're mad. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I think I spent $50 on mine. I got the whole set because I got the front and rear and that giant runner. Yeah. That's actually one of the main reasons I got it in my truck. The factory rear runner was pretty large because it has that huge open floor. But the Husky one goes all the way into the front seats, all the way into the back seats, all the way to the bin. So, like, you can throw a dog back there, for example, and it's not going to get fur all over the floor. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's important. I mean, do your research depending on where you want it to cover. The more it covers, you're going to pay a little bit more. But with the higher quality rubber in there, it'll protect a lot more. Yep. Yeah. Next one I had, speaking of after removing those floor mats, is spend the money for a high quality shop vac. Yeah. And the numbers don't tell the whole game. So you can get a 6 horsepower on paper shop vac that may not do as good a job as a 4.5. Look for reviews. The name brands typically do tend to do better, actually. I have looked at the ones that look really close, and Dewalt across the board typically has really good reviews and lives up to its claims. You can occasionally get them at Costco.
But you will find so many uses for that stupid thing, and a good shop vac is like a 15-year investment for $200, $300. It's not like you're going to use it for a year and toss it. Like I gave away this little shop vac I had for 18 years. It was a shop vac brand, like a little tiny one I got, I think when I was 18 or 19 from my parents. I finally was just like, this thing's never going to die. Like, I don't use it anymore.
I want something new. Yeah.
I just want something bigger, and I wanted something with more power. But it was a perfect little quick shop vac. And I have the small Dyson handheld for the quick jobs.
I love the Dyson handhelds for the small, for getting between the seats and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's good for those tight spaces without having to lug the giant hose around. But also, there's a couple companies out there you can find. They're called hose socks, and they're nice, soft socks that go over the hose on your shop vac, so when you drag it across the interior, you're not scuffing that door sill. Highly recommend that as well. But a cheap shop vac, well, doesn't suck, and that's the problem. They dust up really quick. They don't have a lot of capacity, and they just don't have the power to keep up.
And half the time they blow it out the other end. And always look for one that has a wet capacity as well, that you could go in and if you need to suck up water.
Yeah, which even if you don't, that's great for cleaning. Like if you're cleaning seatbelts, one of the tricks is to make sure the nozzle on your shop vac isn't all scuffed up. But you typically spray some cleaner on there, even a solution of laundry cleaner and water. Let it soak into pull the seatbelt out, clamp it, and then you can just basically spray that on, let it soak in, and then use the shop vac to suck it out, and that'll pull all the dirt out of it. So versus scuffing it with a brush, actually kind of ruins the seatbelt. But this is a great way to restore seatbelts.
Did you ever empty your shop vac after we had Spider Day at your house, or is there probably like a spider kingdom inside your shop vac?
There's probably a spider kingdom in there. Right. I think I've emptied it once.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, living by the water. People don't tell you this when you live by the water.
It's a note.
Yeah. The amount of spiders you get is like horror movie level, and you don't know it because they love damp environments. And it's like every window has 50 spiders on it, and you can dust them, but the best way to do it is to suck them up with a vacuum.
Dan and I were in his garage one night, and I was like, we should do this, and it turned into just a couple of beers, and like the amount of spiders we sucked off the inside of his garage was insane.
There was a heck of a fight in that vacuum.
Absolutely, I bet. Yeah, it was War of the Worlds in there. So yeah. The next thing we want to talk about is tools.
Specifically, one came to mind. It's made me think of it. But yeah, there's one thing I have spent money on and not regretted, and that has been high quality tools. And every now and then you can skate by with not spending the massive amount, depending on the tool. But there's a reason really nice tools cost a lot of money.
Well, I mean, and if you went back in the day, and if you remember from Sears and Craftsman, you'd buy a Craftsman tool. If you broke it, you got a new tool.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
They fix the tool, which it doesn't fix.
So Dewalt has probably the best replacement warranty I've seen for now without going into a store. So if you have the time, like you can literally there's like if you open a box of Dewalt tools, the little divider in it has a little number you call. You tell them which tool you broke. You can send them a picture. They'll just send you a new one. Like no questions asked. You can be like, I ran it over with 3 semis. It doesn't work anymore. Like, here you go. Here's a new one. So that's nice.
There's a really good kit. I bought it. I think you may have it. There's a Dewalt toolkit I got from Costco, and it looks like black chrome, but it's really a good toolkit.
Yeah, it's a good basic kit.
It's not high end, but it's got every size socket you'll need. The only thing I say is make sure you read the directions and open it the right way, because if you don't, everything falls out, and you learn how to reorganize it. So, yeah.
Yeah, but it goes... So the difference I tell people is you need to decide if the tool you have is, if it breaks, can you not finish the job? So there's a reason pro mechanics tools cost a lot, because like if you're...
Snap-on guy's driving a Corvette for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, if your 3/4 ratchet breaks in the middle of a job and you're a mechanic, that's your livelihood. If a 3/4 ratchet breaks for me in the middle of a job, it's a short delay, and I don't really care if it comes in the next day. Like, whatever. I'll just find something else. And there's also specialty tools. But also, in one of the things I put on here, my favorite tool that was worth the money for me, and I don't use it that often, but when I do, I'm so glad I have it. I have this.
The lead up is great, Dan. What's your tool you're not using?
My favorite tool.
Yeah.
My 1/2-inch impact.
Yes.
And that thing is like, if that's not getting it off, you grab the torch.
Yeah.
It's one of the most powerful tools I have, and I've had so many rusted suspension components that I've soaked and soaked and soaked, and then I'm like, just grab the wrench.
We use it on the Land Cruiser. I remember, didn't you use it on Garoff's Corvette when the brakes wouldn't come off?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it still didn't come off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah.
I don't know whoever torqued that bolt on there was Hercules.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had it on, old stubborn parts on old 4x4s and everything. That thing just takes a beating and never stops.
If you want something easy and it's going to break, you go to Harbor Freight. Everybody knows that, but you're not going to be
They usually don't live it. There's a bunch of testing out there online, and if you do get anybody who does any real-world testing on tools, you'll find that cheap tools typically don't live up to the claims they present of how many pound-feet of torque or like that. It's usually just not calibrated correctly for a lot of things. Like,
Sure.
what's I going to say? Help me out here.
Impact?
Not impact.
Dan's making hand signals, and I'm not really sure.
Torque wrenches.
Oh, torque wrenches.
Torque
okay.
wrenches.
So, you were doing this.
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
The sweet spot
Yeah.
for torque wrenches is not the bottom of the barrel. Usually just isn't calibrated enough. Their tolerance is way too high. Like give or take 10% is way too big on a torque wrench. But 1 to 3% for a consumer is more than fine. For the really, really high-end guys, though, doing this professionally, working on motors, you're going to be into the snap-ons and things like that. They're going to be like,
so digital,
0.1%.
Digital over mechanical.
Depends on the case. I mean, for most people at home, a mechanical torque wrench is totally fine.
Okay.
Like I said, I've had some Tecton ones. I still do, and I've checked them with a digital torque adapter to see where they're at, and they've been spot on. So I can't complain. The one thing I will say with cheaper torque wrenches is they're less tolerant to not being reset. So typically when you store a torque wrench, you have to dial it back down to 0. So if you leave a torque wrench at 95 foot-pounds, it will come out of tolerance faster. So just keep a pro tip for cheaper torque wrenches. Like I said, I've been really happy with the Tecton ones for the money, but I am a home user. If you're a pro, you want the best out there, you're going to spend the money on the Snap-on, and it's going to be worth it.
The Snap-on guy will come to you, though.
That's true.
Yeah. So, yeah. I was watching some video. The guy comes home, and she's like, "Is that a new Snap-on jacket?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What'd that cost?" He's like, "About $32,000." She's like, "What?" He's like, "Well, it came with a tool set and a toolbox." So, yeah. Well, the next not worth it is one I shall talk about because I'm guilty of this. This is an aesthetics, is these Roto Packs. If you know my car for a long time, I had Roto Packs on the top of the Subaru. They aesthetically looked fabulous. I never once put fuel in them. Like, I intended to, but every chip I took was like, I'd think, I need this fuel, and I'd fill up the Subaru, and by the time the trek was done, I'd have a half a tank still, and I'm like, well, I don't need to put fuel in there yet, but Roto Pack is a great product. Great product. They make great medical kits. They make great water kits.
Yeah.
The fuel packs, I will tell you this, like,
they're awesome.
I got the abused fuel packs, basically where there was a fault in them, which is probably one of the reasons subconsciously I never put fuel in it. But there was really nothing wrong with them. The one problem I had with that more than anything was that the locks they use tend to get water in them and they rust. Other than that, which makes it really hard to get off the car, by the way. They're aesthetically pleasing. There are better ways to...
That's the thing I've noticed with a lot of overlanding stuff is a lot of people will spend a lot for something they never use. Yeah. When I'm like, okay, the one time I don't need to carry extra fuel, I'm going to grab the Walmart fuel can and toss it when I'm done because it's going to do the job for that one trip I take this year.
Roto Packs, and then the other thing I see all the time with Overland is those backpacks that go over people's rear spire tires, and it's like, well, I'd keep... what do you keep in there? I mean,
it's technically like just a trash bag.
It's a trash bag. It's not secure. You can cut through it. So
those are handy for when you're frequently removing recovery equipment. So you can your kinetic rope, you just toss them in and out real quick. I have a truck bed, so it doesn't really matter that much. But it's not really a Roto Pack thing. Roto Pack's actually a great product and a great use case if you need it. But in general, there's a lot of tools and a lot of add-on accessories where you're just like, this really has no real value to most people.
To put a single Roto Pack tank, like a 2.5-gallon tank on your car, it's probably going to cost you $150 to $200.
Right.
That's just for the tank and the mount and the bolts you're going to need to get, and then you're going to cut them down, and then they're going to be too short. You have to buy. This is hypothetical, of course. You have to buy new bolts. So go to Walmart, buy a fuel tank, throw it out at the end. It just makes more sense. So, yeah. There
is an opposite side of the argument. And one of the things I have found that almost everybody should look into, if you are in the situation where you need to carry extra fuel all the time, and you're going to do this a lot, it's worth it to get the money for the expanded fuel tank. There's a lot of companies offer them, and it's not a cheap solution. Don't get me wrong. You're going to be into it $2,000. But if you go from a 20-gallon capacity like the Land Cruiser had, and that thing got feet to the gallon, and you go to the 40-gallon capacity, you've doubled your range. You've got added basically an armored fuel system to it, and the chances of you ever needing fuel are slim to none.
Yeah, so, and these things are built for these cruisers that are going across Australia where they may not come back.
Yeah. I'm just saying, but like you said, you look into it, you're into like one Roto Pack, you're into about $200. Mm-hmm. That's not bad. That's not a huge investment for something that sits nice and flush and has a specific use case, and it's a nice piece of equipment. But if this is your regular thing and you're putting money into it, I can't stress enough how nice it is to have a almost 35-gallon tank on the Raptor. I have a 450-mile range. It's I can't think of a trip where I would need more fuel unless maybe going to Alaska.
Did you see that Jeep that was on the Avance off-road thing? And he had old school fuel cans like right in front of the driver doors, bolted to the fenders. I was like, yeah, that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
So
we're just saying nothing against Roto Pack. They make a fantastic product.
They're wonderful. But like when I bought those, I was 100% sure I was going to use them all the time. There was never like the guy that bought it from me. He's like these have never been used. And I'm like, no. He's like, they never put fuel in them. I said, no. Well, why not? Ironically, was a Jeep guy. So hopefully he's using them more than I have. So yeah.
The next one we've been using a lot of. These have paid for themselves 100 times over.
Okay.
Cheap radios, 100% worth it. It's also worth it for expensive radios, but they just have different use cases. And
it's a distance thing more than anything.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of distance though. It's not like a cell phone versus a radio. It's like one's a half mile more and that's it. Typically, the terrain is your biggest factor in a handheld radio and your antenna. So there's many times I've held the thing out the window and been like, oh, there it is. But for most of us, just doing basic off-roading or even our rallies, that's where we wish we had a little bit better ones. But like I said, I have 13 Baofeng radios right now, and I paid less than $500 for all 13 with charging and extended antennas. Less than $500. One good Motorola radio, one good one is $500 to $600. So for most people, those handheld radios, which I hand out like candy when we go anywhere, even in large groups, I'm like, don't worry, I'll bring all of them in a bag. I hand them out. There you go. If one breaks, whatever. They gave me a discount when I ordered 10 of like 20%. It wasn't a little bit. It was like a massive discount. And they have squelch issues and little things like that, and we all know it.
There's some channel issues with some of the cheaper ones, but other than that.
Yeah, but I mean, for just your basic, like I'm going to go out with my buddies and go for a drive, especially off-roading, but even for our 4 or 5 person rallies, these things are cheap enough that I just don't care about if one breaks. And one bad Motorola, even though it is a superior radio, period.
I don't think we've had any break, have we?
No, I've had clips break.
Yeah.
Like who cares? I can replace that for nothing. So.
They are. I mean, with the extended antennas, which is I love that we have. It's a little awkward when it's in the car because it's in your cup holder and the antenna's kind of whipping around in the car. But other than that,
yeah, cheap radios.
And you
work
can
great.
get the lapel mics and things like that too. So
yeah, one thing that does not work great is those crappy ass FRS radios that you get from Walmart or whatever. They're fine if you can see the person in front of you. That's about it.
You got to get the G.I. Joe wrist ones.
They probably work better.
Yeah, those are great. Or the Knight Rider ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and so FRS radios are great for hiking if you're with a buddy or if you're like a line of sight. But we get easily quadruple 5 times the range out of our basic Baofengs. The UV5R is still around. I have the 6s. But anyway, I highly recommend the extra $50, $60. Like I said, you buy them in bulk, you hand them out. If you've got a club, you get massive discounts if you just email and ask. You can get Amazon service for them. I mean, just make sure you don't get there's a couple of, they're so generic, there's actually knockoffs of the knockoffs, so I recommend buying from a reputable seller.
Double knockoff.
I know, yeah.
Okay.
The light turns on knockoff, that's all it does.
Exactly.
Yeah, so worth it. Expensive radios, especially in racing, especially in professional situations, absolutely worth it, but also worth it with the cheap ones. The cheap Baofengs actually do a pretty good job. And
figure out what you're going to use it for.
Yeah, but even the $35 UV5R is a great radio for $35. It's far superior to the
And you can
Midland.
use cheap radios at the track because most of the time you're within sight of the car that you're going.
So as long as you're set up to run them, you're fine.
Yeah.
What do we have next?
Well, let's talk about something that everybody has in their car, and we're going to bring it together between like quality phone mounts, GPS mounts, all kinds of things. And Dan, you've done a ton of it. Like the one you love is
the 20.
What is it? Tramp or
Scosche.
Probably one of the most powerful magnets that you can get for phone mounts and GPS mounts, and basically it will work with any magnetic plate on the back of a phone.
Yeah.
GPS.
So I figured out a little trick with these, though. It's not aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so phones with wireless charging, sorry, this is going to block them. This includes the iPhone 12 and every other device with wireless charging. But I have found it worth it because most vehicles don't have wireless CarPlay yet. So for now, I might change it up. But if you put the magnetic plate on the outside of your phone, outside of the case, I recommend it on the case, that will hold it enough, even in pretty extreme off-roading. Like I have rallied in the Raptor with this thing on the dash, and it doesn't go anywhere. So that alone is great, and it's super simple to just take it in and off. And often when we're off-roading, we're hopping in and out of our vehicles, so I'm grabbing my phone and taking it with me 50 times during a single trip.
That's what I'm looking forward to wireless CarPlay, because unplugging every time, Apple CarPlay, especially in the Subarus, is very it's grouchy when you unplug and plug and the car's running and things like that. So
yeah, Android Auto is as well.
Yeah.
None of them are perfect, but yeah, I have found that it's worth it to get the extra mount if you are riding motorcycles, if you are riding or doing serious off-road. I mean, the hardcore stuff like jumping, things like that, side by sides, which you're going to get your phone filthy by the way if you do that. So get an OtterBox or something, a full coverage case. Quad lock mounts are awesome. RAM mounts are they're awesome as well. I like the quad lock because it's a simple one-hand operation on and off once you figure it out. The RAM mounts are super secure as well, but that said, it is worth it for those situations to get a proper mount for your phone. I've seen people try and cheap out because the little cradle holds it just fine and it looks fine. It's not the first time you hit any high Gs or you bounce around.
Dan, you got to go one off the Amazon where you put your phone near it and it opens up for you and then it closes. That's what you want.
Another nice thing about the magnetic mounts and the quad lock mounts, some of the nicer ones, is the suction cup ones make great ways to mount your phone for video recording.
Yeah.
So if you have video stabilization built into your phone, it works great. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the one that the Scotch magnetic, but it sticks to the window and then it suction cups, which I like. I will say this, and this is something we're going to talk a little bit more about. I talked about it earlier. You know, Dan and I picked up a Garmin 700i for GPS for the future, and I found that Garmin makes a lot of really good mounts that work with these. That you can either have like the sandbag mount, or they will, which by the way works really well. You don't think it does, but it really does because it's enough weight.
And it's grippy on the bottom too.
Yeah.
So yeah, they do work surprisingly well even off road.
There's a lot of really good mounts, and a lot of the mounts for the GPS will charge the device while they're holding it, I guess.
Yeah, Quad Lock actually has a built-in wireless charger into the mount, so you can have the really secure mount and wireless charge with no wires, if that's your thing. Wired to the mount, but not the phone, so it's easy to get it off.
Sure.
So, let's take our next break. We'll be right back. We'll close out with just a few more. We'll be right back.
Grandpa, what do you call this thing again?
It's a 66 Ford Bronco.
I think you got ripped off.
Why is that, honey?
It's got no Wi-Fi, no USB port, no Bluetooth.
Exactly. I guess we'll just have to talk.
Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
Is that the window button?
It's called a window crank.
Cool. The faster I move it, the faster it goes down.
This moment of escape was created by Haggerty.
Being old is kind of cool, Grandpa.
Works for me.
For people who love cars.
And we're back. Yeah, we both learned this lesson. This is kind of funny.
Which one?
The lights.
Yeah, okay, so when you get a car these days, a lot of times every outside light is LED and it's bright and it turns and it moves with you. But you get inside and they put a 16-cent bulb, maybe half of that, an 8-cent bulb in there. That was actually a lesson I learned with the Crosstrek. It's like at night it was like barely a God's breath in there. You couldn't see anything.
Yep.
And today's technology with LEDs, they do make an LED kit for a lot of cars. Like I went to our friends at HID Kit Pros. It was a whole kit, was ready to go. It replaced all the lights in the car, and it's an immense. I'm old. I'm going to say it. I can't see anything in the car. And so I replaced all the interior lights, all the footwell lights, all the overhead lights, the rear trunk area with LED, and it's so much nicer now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the whole kit was like $22, something like that. So.
Yeah, it's super cheap to do. It makes a huge difference, especially when you're looking for something in the dark. There is a limit. Just getting more LEDs and brighter is not always better in an interior light. There's nothing like flipping on the map light and blinding everyone in the car, including yourself.
And if you're going to do it, the appropriate color inside is white light, not purple or green or no.
Yeah,
So-
green and red have their advantages in some situations. I guess if you do a lot of stakeouts, or you're in the military, you can understand. We can go into that at a different time. But for most of us, a simple white light to read the map is just fine.
And what you can do is you can go online, you can pull the bulb out, figure out what the type of the bulb is. There are conversions online that will tell you what type of LED you need, and they're pretty easy to get.
Yeah, most of the time you can just go to HID Kit Pros, order a kit up, and know that you've already got somebody who's done all the research and is not selling you junk, and they'll stand behind it. So
it's nice.
Yeah, they do make it pretty easy.
Totally worth it.
Not worth it. Nick?
Cheap LED lights. Okay, so this started way back when I had a Subaru, and somebody put LED lights into washer fluid nozzles, which basically threw light down your hood. Not a lot of light, but light down your. And everybody knows that when you mix water of a nozzle sprayer with electricity, nothing can go bad. They're not going to flicker. They're not going to look bad. Cheap LED lights on the exterior are stupid. They're not worth it. It's something that's going to burn out. Unless you're getting one of those really cool signs that goes in the back window where you can change it to your phone to flip the guy off behind you. But other than that, you really don't need it. I will say this: one of the things that I did do, and some people have questioned me this, is I put new not map lights, but license plate lights.
Oh yeah, I did the same thing.
And I
just think they look better.
Yeah, and it looks better. It's cleaner, and it actually helps if you have a reverse camera. Like it helps of that. And I mean, I changed, and that's another thing we'll talk about. It's worth it too. Is lights, like headlights and taillights. I put new bulbs in.
High quality, made for the housing. LED bulbs are fantastic.
Are you saying that you can put the wrong type of bulbs in a car, Dan? If you don't have an HID, headlight in there, and you put a LED in there, and it reflects, and everybody flashes you on the road?
Yeah, if you have a reflector
hypothetically,
if you have a reflector housing and you don't have a bulb made for a reflector housing, you will get no advantage from that. Not only will you see less, because your light is dispersed all wrong, but you're also blinding all the oncoming drivers, which is hard to believe that you can see less and still blind other people.
That's why I can't see less, because everybody keeps flashing me. But yeah, right. I put the wrong bulbs in it the first time. So yeah.
Yeah, they make lights for reflector housings that are LED. It's how the bulb is situated in the housing. And if you have projectors, it's quite a bit easier. That said, the cheap ones suck. If you'll all remember back in the tuner days.
How about the blue ones?
The big thing was to put in those $50, $60 PIA bulbs that were basically just colored glass.
From Shucks.
Yeah, or wherever.
You picked up your bulbs and you picked up your spinning hubcaps. It was a good day.
They burnt out faster. They threw out less light.
If you went anywhere, if you breathed on them wrong and they got moisture on them, they blew up.
They blew up. Yeah, exactly. And so one of the things you'll know if you look at the testing online, thank God for the internet for this, is there's a lot of testing that shows those higher, like $30 extra bright, whatever, halogen bulbs, if you have halogen bulbs in your car still, don't do jack. The basic Sylvania bulbs, the halogen bulbs, are just as good as everything else. If you want more lighting, get auxiliary lighting. That's the best. Or upgrade the entire housing so that you can put a projector bulb in there, or find somebody who makes a special LED bulb for that housing.
There's a lot of retrofit kits out there for cars. Like, I mean, you can heat your headlight. It's a lot of work, but I mean, heating your headlights in the oven and pulling them apart, and you can retrofit them. It's kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah, it's a little slow process. If you're a DIY person, it's not that hard. It just takes time. If you're not,
don't plan on driving the car for a little while.
Yeah, if you're not, you can drop it off at the guys at HID Kit Pros, and they'll take care of it for you. They're experts on it. But yeah, the best thing to do is auxiliary lighting versus that. You can usually get way more light output for the time you need it by putting a very hidden light bar like you did in the Subaru. Those are absolutely worth it. And as far we can get into forever on whether light bars are worth it. I've seen rigids fogged up to hell and back and useless, and Nylite knockoff Amazons for $40 to do the job.
They're not indestructible. I mean, it's I'm actually surprised the one that's in my bumper, and it's really in there. But I'm surprised I haven't broken something with the front end being dragged over things. So.
Yeah, one of the things you're paying for with those is the warranty.
Yeah,
you're paying that $800 light bar, they're going to warranty after you've literally taken it to Baja and back, and they're like, "Oh, it broke. Here's a new one." Versus the $50 one from Amazon is all over the trail.
Sorry, you ran into a rock in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly.
The next one for not worth it is I'm gonna say a company from back in our day, Weapon R. Weapon R made intakes for cars. So did AEM. And most of the time, you got a box with a bunch of crooked pipes in it. They said, yeah, eventually, if you put enough silicone couplings in between, you'll be able to make an intake. But I want to tell you, it leads to other things. I mean, I remember putting a Weapon R on my Subaru, and the next thing I knew, I had wire coverings in yellow all over the engine until they started to melt. So one thing you run into with intakes. Okay, everybody wants a different type of intake, be it a snorkel or whatever, or on your tuner. You're not really getting that much more performance out of it. A lot of times it'll throw check engine lights because they don't put the right ports in them. Your airflow sensor doesn't click into it, things like that. You're really not getting a huge amount of performance out of it. It's aesthetically pleasing when you pop your hood. They give you a sticker that goes on your window that gives you an extra 4 horsepower if you're going downhill off a cliff. But other than that, it's just not a lot. If you want to look for performance, or you want to look for airflow, I mean, go to K&N, find one of their filters. I mean, that'll be better than anything. And I noticed
just go for a good quality one that has the results to prove it. Those are always false, by the way.
Yeah. Be very careful. Like the Subaru was the first one that had this. I have a charcoal filter, and then I have an air filter in there. They're together, and it's very important. The car knows that both those filters are there, and you can. I replaced the stock filter with a K&N, and it's been great. It has helped. I mean, you're not going to get hundreds of horsepower. You're barely going to get 1 horsepower.
Yeah.
But it will do a better job, I think, than some of the paper filters.
And to a point, it's the oil gauze that catches stuff, but all the testing has shown they flow more air because they also flow slightly more debris. So you have to clean them more. Keep that in mind. There are plenty of tests out there, no matter what they say, that prove that. You do need to clean them more. You can clean them, though. So there's that.
And you need them, because if you don't, then you check your air boxes, there could be hay and sand and all kinds of things you don't know why are in the
A lot of smoke from forest fires.
That too.
Fog things.
A lot of smoke.
Funny how that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's... In general, though, don't expect the gains you see from an intake to work until you match it with a tune. We're going to go into that as well, because that's one of those things that's worth it but not. Typically, if you change the tune of your car, like, you can do a very minor stage 1, but then you're limited to the fuel you can put in it. Typically, most stage 1 tunes are 91 octane, but if some do require 92, the computer can usually compensate on most modern cars between the two fuels, and you're not going to hurt anything. But ECU flashing is sort of a double-edged sword. If it's done right, it works great. Our friends at BBI, if you've got a Porsche, we've had Tim on the show, like, those guys know what they're doing. They can give you a tune for your McLaren or your Porsche, and you can get some real results out of it with almost no downside. That said, like, I had one on my GTR, and I was hitting tons of different elevations. I had an intake. That thing did not know what to do, and basically went through about 20 gallons worth of gas at about 70 miles. Because it was trying to avoid lean because of the elevation I was at. And so a poor tune can go really bad a long way. I was going to say with that, I think you just want to do your research and work with somebody who knows the system end to end. So our guys at CarbCon over in Kirkland can do custom tunes on most things. They know who they're working with. They know what they're looking at when they see a dyno, besides just the number at the end. The number doesn't tell you the full story. So make sure if you do a tune, that you get everything that goes with it. And most of the time, a tune is not just a tune. Usually a tune is with an intake, usually with exhaust and everything else to get the most out of it. Otherwise, it's kind of a waste.
If you're going to increase airflow or flow coming out of an engine needs to be tuned.
Yeah, exactly.
Flat out.
If you really want to get the most out of that intake, even just an intake, especially on a forced induction car, like even just like the Raptor, a tune is going to be required.
Yeah.
And even an off-the-shelf tune from Cobb there's so many Raptors, it's pretty easy to be like, I have these parts, what tune do I need? And they're like, here's 1,000 because it's a Raptor. So anyway.
I'll take the middle one.
Yeah, exactly.
The next one, and we've talked about this before, is racks, systems, roof racks, and things like that.
Any mounting gear. Yeah.
Any mounting gear. We had that Jimmy Mayfield on from Rack and Road in Bellevue, who's a great source for information. I've sent a ton of people there. It's important, just because you want to put something on the top of your car doesn't mean your car is equipped to have something on the top of it.
Yeah.
You really need to do your research and go to a place that knows that, if you're going to put, crossbars on there, how much can you really take? As we know from the past, I had the stock Subaru crossbars on there, which are great, but I overweighted them. It was causing issues, and they were starting to bow in. It only takes so much, but so you have to do your research and figure out what's right for your car, what you need. We see the cargo boxes all the time, and they're great, but they're only great if they're mounted right and they're mounted safely.
Exactly what he was saying. If you get the factory crossbars, they typically have a much lower limit than the aftermarket crossbars. So even though they might look the same, or they might be by Yakima, or so they say, you can actually get different bars and change the load rating on them. So like with the fuel rack on there, the Max Trax, your spare tire, and an axe, and whatever else we have on the rack, you can easily overload those bars.
Plus the basket, yeah.
Plus the basket, yeah. A lot of those factory rooftop bars are made to hold like a bike carrier, which they're perfectly suited for, or a canoe or something. But that's like 20, 30 pounds at most.
You can, and you got to think, it's not just the weight of it on top of the car; it's the weight at speed. The wind's pushing back on something, and you can really damage the mounting points in the car, which can cause leaking in your headliner, which can cause all kinds of problems. So, you really have to do your research on this. I know there's a lot of time, and know that you can do all your research. Like I said, we did all the research on that Yakima rack that I had on the car, and it was too much noise, and it didn't work on the Subaru. As much as Yakima wanted to sell it, it just didn't work. So you're going to learn. It's, there's trial and error. So, yeah.
Speaking of also worth it, that would be Avance.
Oh, yes, definitely worth it.
That's the end of our list.
Good transition, Dan.
But it has been worth it to be an Avance member, where you would get your free Griots pack, which has all the basics you need for detailing your car, which is worth the membership alone. Like we said, it's guaranteed to be more than the $100 in product So do that.
No, it is, yeah. Most definitely.
And if you need more, you can go to griotsgarage.com and put in RCS 10 and get 10% off your order. And their next event for Avance is coming up. I don't have anything on the calendar until the 20th, actually. March 20th, that is. We did all the fun stuff. So the next one is another Avance off-road event.
I keep thinking that's a long way away, and then I'm realizing it's already the 22nd of February or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, by the time this comes, it'll be less than a month away by the time this comes out. Again, that'll sell out. They always do. You should go do that. It's a ton of fun. If you haven't seen the videos posted, you see some pretty interesting rigs there.
I've been challenged by several people there, so I might actually have to bring the Subaru out again and get it dirty.
Same here.
It took a ton of time to get it clean, but it's still
time, to run the Raptor and run the Subaru one more time, I think.
Yep. So. I'll let you go in front of me in case I get stuck and you can pull me out. It's just easier that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's turning into quite the swamp. Unless we get some kind of weird dry spell, it's going to be even more interesting next time.
It's still going to be mulch. Yeah.
It's so fun.
Still a great course. So, and I mean, they're working on mapping it now too. So it's going to be, so.
The guys at Onyx Off-Road, they called it, what did they call that one? The Griot's Car Wash, the massive water pit.
We had Griot's Car Wash, we had Avance Mountain, we had some other things that we had to change the name of just because
Satan's
at the time,
something, I don't know.
Yeah, Satan's rear exit. So it was good. But it was a lot of fun. And there will be more and more events as things start getting going and the driving season starts. So
I've heard I heard a rumor that driving season opening day is May 1st.
It's a rumor.
It's a rumor.
Who knows?
We'll report more on that.
Well, who
knows
knows what day that is? I mean, it's whenever. I feel like driving season for us is January 1st. Anytime we can get in the car and get it, especially after last year. So.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I mean, it's looking good. I think we'll be able to take mass off by the year 2028. So we'll be good.
Yeah, or whenever the world ends, yeah.
Okay, 2022. So, yeah. Well, again, if you want to know about anything we talked about here or know more about it, that's repetitive, but you can email us. I'll put Dan's phone number up. You can find most of my phone numbers in any good bathroom. Give us a call. We'll talk to you. So,
is it in the Mountainside Tavern yet?
Mostly. It's been in the tavern longer than I've been there, so yeah. To be fair, David's been going in there and drawing over it to make sure that people actually know the number. So it's good.
Nice of him.
Yeah. All right. Well, for this episode of Rain City Supercars, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, and don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.